So Pete Buttigieg, okay, this is a name you may not have thought you would hear, but he is the Secretary of Transportation. And so what's going on right now is the supply chain in the United States is pretty clogged. I guess like cargoes in, I forget where in California, maybe in like Los Angeles, cargoes just stuck. I guess out in the water, they're not able to come in. So the supply chain is clogged all over the world. There's a lot of issues with this going on. But he is Secretary of Transportation, so conservatives have been hitting him for his, I guess, lack of action on the situation. I don't know how much of a role the Secretary of Transportation really has when it comes to the supply chain. My understanding of the role of the Secretary of Transportation is it more has to do with, means of transportation that you use, like, cars and trains and stuff like that. That's what it seems more like. It doesn't really seem to be more about cargo. So, although, obviously there is stuff that he should be doing, the Biden administration definitely needs to be doing more. They're not really seeming to be doing much at all, quite frankly, when it comes to this. There's a huge crisis going on. Businesses don't have workers. Hundreds of thousands of workers are going on strike right now. Businesses can't even function. It's the economy's kind of in trouble, and the functionality of entire businesses at this point are really starting to go down. Biden doesn't even answer questions to the press. But here's something interesting that's going on. This is important because we really need to change the conversation when it comes to paid leave. So obviously, there's the necessity for paid leave for workers where they actually get paid to take time off. It's very healthy, obviously not only beneficial for the workers, but it's also going to boost productivity. So it's also beneficial for the business. But now we're talking about paternity leave, right? Paternity leave is the father leaving from work, paid paternity leave when a child is born. So what's been going on is conservatives have been making fun of Pete Buttigieg, who just adopted a child with his husband. They're making fun of him for taking paternity leave. So it says, Buttigieg hits back after parental leave criticism, quote, really strange. So as Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg responded to criticism from conservatives he received for taking parental leave after adopting two newborns. Buttigieg has received some criticism for staying on parental leave since August, as the country is dealing with supply chain issues. Others took to attacking Buttigieg for taking parental leave altogether, mocking the idea. So it's one thing if you're to say, like, hey, you're Secretary of Transportation, like, you need to be ready. The fact that you're on parental leave at this time is bad. That's one thing. But what it seems like most of these conservatives are actually saying is they're making fun of the idea of paternity leave in general. So there's a quote from Tucker Carlson where it says, Pete Buttigieg has been on leave from his job since August after adopting a child. Paternity leave, they call it. Trying to figure out how to breastfeed. No word on how that went. Fox News' Tucker Carlson said on his show. So it's a very bizarre idea that all of taking care of a newborn is just alone breastfeeding. And so Pete Buttigieg had responded to these kinds of comments. But before we get to the response, we should check out some of the comments. This guy is a complete idiot. He said that he's the dude who said that emojis are feminine and so men should stop sending emojis. This guy's name is Matt Walsh. He's the Daily Wire fourth stringer. He's fourth in line when it comes to the hierarchy over there. Dude's a complete moron. He says, the thing about paternity leave is there isn't much for dad to do when the baby is a newborn, especially if mom is breastfeeding. His main role is to take care of mom as she recovers, but of course that doesn't apply to Buttigieg, so I'm not sure why he needs paternity leave at all. And then he says, people are saying dad needs paternity leave for bonding time. Sure, a week or something is fine, but the baby isn't going to bond with dad much until he's a little older, and we shouldn't be paying cabinet secretaries to stay home for 2 months for bonding time anyway. It's hilarious that this is the issue that you're going after cabinet secretaries for. Paying them for 2 months of bonding time with their children is hilarious. You can still also bond with your child while working. I'm very well bonded with all 4 of my kids, and I had no paternity leave for any of them. So he obviously got ratioed pretty heavily on this kind of stuff. But what was also super hilarious about this was there was actually a tweet I had seen right here. Here's a tweet from him. The ceiling in the basement was ripped out today because the kids flooded the bathroom upstairs and it leaked through. My wife brought them down to see the demolished ceiling, hoping it would scare them straight. Instead, they described the carnage as super awesome and wow, so cool. So the lesson here is flood the bathroom and super awesome stuff happens as a result. So clearly not necessarily the best of results Matt Walsh is getting through his parental program here, but the idea that all is needed is the mom to take care of a newborn is insane. Paternity leave is proven to be extremely beneficial. It's going to lead to the child having much better outcomes, obviously developing better. Having that bond with the father is obviously going to make them more intelligent, more secure, more developed, all of that kind of stuff. Studies have shown this. So paternity leave, again, all of these programs we talk about, paid sick leave, paid vacation time, paid maternity and paternity leave. These are not things that are like entitlements or just give outs. These are all things that have benefits that come to them that cancel out any cost that they would have. So paid maternity and paternity leave, these are things that are going to give lots of benefits because children are going to be higher earners, or they're going to commit less crime, which means that there's going to be a lower cost on the government from tax dollars when it comes to our prison system and things like that. Those are heavy, heavy costs that are offset by this. So it's actually really important. One tweet here says, so true, dude, since neither of them is breastfeeding, neither of them needs paternity leave, so you can just leave some bowls of food and water out, different locations so they don't go through them too quick, and hope the infants use the litter box. You have to take really close care of newborns, so I don't know what the fuck Matt Walsh is talking about, and it's really important to obviously have two parents there who are able to take care of the child. So this is really important because I guess it has to do even this with like traditional gender roles, it seems like. But it doesn't seem that this kind of stuff is very pro-family. I would imagine pro-family would mean be supporting paternity leave, obviously. But, Pete Buttigieg, he's responding here saying he's been available 24/7 for issues. He also took a shot at Carlson, saying he doesn't understand parental leave. Well, look, in his case, I guess he just doesn't understand the concept of bottle feeding, let alone the concept of paternity leave. But what is really strange is that, this is from a side of the aisle that used to claim the mantle of being pro-family. What we have right now is an administration that's actually pro-family. I don't know about all that. And I'm blessed to be able to experience that as an employee, being able to have the flexibility to take care of our newborn children, which is, by the way, work. It's a joyful work. It's wonderful work, but it's definitely work. So, again, most people are not afforded by this. So, obviously, he's in a very, he's been in a posh position his whole life, essentially, but he's in one right now, right? Vast majority of people don't have. Paternity leave is almost paid paternity leave is almost non-existent, maybe even completely non-existent in the U.S. Other countries I have heard, like Canada, I've heard of paternity leave. But also another thing, too, about having children and paternity leave is there's actually a really big issue going on in developed nations now where I guess because of women taking a more active role in gaining education, then working up the ladder to getting better jobs, they don't really want to have kids. They'd rather focus on their lives instead. So because of that, the population is, having less children. So as you guys know, you need, something between 2 and 4 workers, I think it is, to support a retiree for Social Security. And so, paternity leave would be another way for a country to be able to, incentivize more childbearing, essentially. So there's all these kinds of things where paternity leave gives benefits to society, obviously, and it's really important to know that this is not something that's not necessary or it's very heavy cost, all of that kind of stuff. Paternity leave, maternity leave, these are important things. All of these kinds of things have massive benefits to society, and they save you more money than they're even going to spend. Same thing goes for minimum wage. If you raise the minimum wage, all those people who are working minimum wage jobs and then collecting social welfare benefits because they're so fucking broke, you're paying their social security, their social welfare benefits. If they're off that, then you're no longer paying that. Well, there you go. There's a big cost right there taken off. Businesses will have to pay less in training costs because they can have more committed workforce. These are all things where there's offsetting costs of all of these different government programs that are mandated. And these exist in, I would say, most of the developed world. It's just the United States is special in its masturbation to extreme overworking. So it's very important to understand these paternity leave, maternity leave, very, very important stuff.